Coming up on Nebraska Stories, a farm where the crop is creativity. The ultimate gallery for Husker fans. A sculptor reveals his vision for a statue of Willa Cather. The chanting priests behind a chart-topping requiem. And revisiting the early days of KMMJ radio.
It's kind of unlike most places that I've been. I was just very shocked at every aspect of the landscape.
It's great to come here and not know what to expect and to be sort of like dropped into a place with very little connection to the outside world.
80 miles west of Lincoln, off an unremarkable dirt road near the small town of Marquette, is a farmstead like no other.
You guys catch it as we get there? Now just keep on going.
It's called Art Farm. It's a nonprofit artist residency program Ed Dady started 26 years ago as an experiment.
I'll set this end right here on the bucket. Tried to be a farmer, but hell, I was so pathetic. So I thought, well, I got to do something else.
And that's when Dady switched from cultivating corn to cultivating culture.
Over the years, total, probably around 800 artists now. I think from about 23 countries.
I feel like Art Farm's gonna be marketed as like a CrossFit for artists.
From May through November, up to 80 artists come here each year, as many as 20 at a time. The accommodations are rustic. The studio spaces are equally spare. Some buildings evoke abandonment, others a simple charm. But the evidence of creative energy is everywhere. In exchange for a residency, artists contribute at least 12 hours of labor each week to projects on the farm.
My name is Grace. I'm originally from Hong Kong, but I was raised in Los Angeles. I was trained as an architect. I just quit architecture and decided to do architecture in my own terms. When you build something here, like, you're also working with a bunch of different people, which kind of continuously change and transform like what that idea is.
Why don't you turn this into like a 3-inch square?
Yeah?
Every day brings something new. On this day, it's all hands on deck to unload the donated remnants of an elevator mechanism for some unknown future project. There are piles of materials just waiting for the right artistic vision.
Some things could be around there 25 years, not used, and all of a sudden, where'd they all go?
Beyond the work exchange, there are few rules. Imperfection is okay. Failure is an option. And at least at Art Farm, time is not money.
There's like freedom to fail here. Everything you're making doesn't have to be something that's going to be lucrative for your career.
Doesn't matter if you fail, just do it. Time is different out here. I mean, it's like you say, the sky, the moon, the sun is what you keep your time by. Yeah, let's pull the other one. Just lay that end down. Pull the other one off, and then we can take the 2x4s. over
Dady
there.
trained as a sculptor and ceramicist, but his focus now is on mentoring other artists.
Yeah, that's good.
He's just kind of dedicated his life to building and maintaining this strange pocket in existence.
You could brush in sand on all these now.
He's an incredibly inspiring human being, mostly because he literally knows how to do anything.
He treats us all completely equally, whether you're a poet who's never hammered a nail or, you're a sculptor who's built like massive structures.
I drove from New York City and I just had this vision of a door that sat in the middle of a field. And it's just like so odd and interesting and hilarious to see what people will do when given a plot of land and literally no expectations or directions. I come to a place like this where the emphasis has been taken away from efficiency and productivity and is put towards inspiration and creativity. I felt a little bit of a spiritual change in me. I just keep coming back because it's a place where I feel incredibly inspired.
Where they covered from an area that's very competitive in terms of who gets in a gallery. You see that the first week they're here. That competitiveness has come with them. And then they start to pick up on it. The art farm, where everybody sees this initially as, God, this a chaotic mess. But then they start to understand there's organization here.
We're building a basket-covered platform for Art Farm for people to be able to work during the day in a pleasing environment, write poems, make a painting.
The whole building is sort of based off of shaker basket styles. I've been experimenting with like traditional craft styles and how like the structure of those and the manipulation of material can affect experimental architecture.
Our point is going to go forward. Yep. You guys walk backwards. Yep.
Art Farm is such a wonderful place. It's a very like giving environment. We do a lot of things communally. We have a lot of meals together, and we work together to actually build the physical property here. And I think that bleeds over into everyone's practices, and people support each other in a really beautiful way.
It's going over there.
By the welding area.
So maybe we should just build a ramp.
Admittedly, Art Farm isn't for everyone. The longest residency has been 4 years. The shortest, 45 minutes.
You don't know if it's a romantic idealization of what rural America is. When you get here, damn, there's mosquitoes biting you all the time. The wind drives you crazy. You gotta walk in mud sometimes. So yeah, some just cannot take it.
Well, I've only lived in cities my whole life. I was a little shocked by the rustic nature of it at first. I mean, I still haven't gotten used to like bugs eating my flesh all day, but I really enjoy just like being able to work outside like this. I've grown to like it a lot.
In 26 years, only 3 Nebraska artists have applied to the program. Perhaps Art Farm is simply less exotic to homegrown artists. But the competition for spots here increases each year. Word of mouth has turned this little-known experiment into a sought-after residency for artists from all over the world.
This is my 3rd season, I guess you'd call it. It's changed me in ways that I don't think I could articulate. The gift of time is something that is probably the best tool that any artist or writer or creator of any kind could ask for.
I basically get all my stuff straight from the players. I love The fact that these guys come in here, that they call just to chat, it's surreal to think that all my heroes when I was a kid, like, just want to call and talk to me. It's just the strangest thing still.
Hidden in Lincoln's Haymarket is a gallery dedicated to Nebraska football. Its curator, J.C. Wickstrom, has been a sports memorabilia collector since he was a small child.
The first time I remember that Nebraska football was a big deal was the '78 Oklahoma game. So I was 7 years old, and I realized that it was going to be a big part of my life. In '83, the university had their first, like, garage sale. I was, like, pulling stuff out of piles, like, this is Jeff Kinney's jersey from 1970, and, you know, Larry Jacobson, and I'm like, you gotta, and of course my mom was like, who's Jeff Kinney? And I was like, ah! Who knows why everybody picks something to get passionate about and collect. But that was it for me. I mean, like, I never wanted anything else. I had purchased basically everything Amir Abdullah had sold. This third party saw it and wanted to buy it. He kept on increasing his offer. And I was just like, I don't care what you offer, you can't have it. So we got to talking, and it turned out this guy was the president of one of the largest privately owned museums in the world. He put some money in there, and that's how this place got started. I mean, it's kind of a miracle. There really wasn't a very big market for it until about 2000. There were very few of us out there, a couple of us, doing Nebraska stuff. It just exploded. You know, stuff you could get for 50, 100 bucks costs $1,000 now.
While JC has purchased some of his collection from auctions, most of it comes straight from former players themselves.
He reached out to me, and I think like he does to a lot of former players, you know, told me about what he's been doing, his collection, and his interest in trying to get the pipeline noticed through his museum.
I actually had a list of like 17 guys that I had since I was in high school, and I thought those guys were unattainable. And then like 2 years ago, I finished the list. That's the fun for me, is the hunt, you know, the tracking something down. It's an addiction. I won't stop. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love it so much. So it's, everybody's got their thing. So mine just happens to be expensive. This is the shirt from McGee's Clothiers that was signed by the entire 1933 team. It's something that's very unusual. The best thing is, because the autographs back then, they actually signed their name so you can read it. It's just such a different piece. I absolutely had to have it. So that's something you're never gonna see. There's only one of those, for sure. The 41 football, our first bowl team, the 41 Rose Bowl. It's the game ball, signed by the whole Nebraska team. Yeah, it's free. It's for everybody to enjoy. And I do enjoy the reactions of people who are big Husker fans that just shake their head. They're like, how did you get all this stuff?
Vintage Red has become a place to honor the legacy of Nebraska football, one piece at a time.
There's so many great players that have played here. These guys have families, and they want to show their loved ones that I was actually a part of this.
There's a lot of history in Nebraska football, and this museum, to me, is a great place for people to come and reflect and, you know, honor. Also, I know over at the university right now, there's so much stuff that's just kind of collecting dust and in closets, and I think the ultimate goal would be to have this just great museum, and right now I think that this is a perfect platform for it.
I look at the maquette as a poem. And then I look at the 4-foot version as a short story. And then the 7-foot, which will be in bronze of Willa in Statuary Hall, will be the novel.
Red Cloud, Nebraska, where people come from all over the world to experience the little town that Willa Cather brought to life in her novels.
How absolutely wonderful it is to see everyone in their white shirts and their Sunday bests to come out and actually be seen, but also to see and experience the town life itself, how rich it is. I bet these people thought that this would only grow to another Chicago. This is an American society that's curious about the world. And things as interesting as a Ferris wheel is magic to children. And maybe this is a renaissance for this town, to come back to its cultural hub, its heart.
The house where Willa Cather lived as a child has been preserved just as it was in the late 19th century.
I think visiting Red Cloud enriches me. There's no question about it. It slows everything down. And you start to really measure by inch everything. We're standing in her life, which is a novel. And I'm creating a sculpture of her, and I want to capture the poetry. So it's really the essence of her, and yet it's as rich as, say, the chapters of a novel. For the artists, for me, it's research for sure, but it's a research that I lovingly engage in. It's a fascinating journey.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
She's lovely.
Thank you.
And she's going to be 7 foot tall?
Yes.
When you hear Gregorian chants, ancient churches and monasteries in Europe may come to mind. But these chants are thousands of miles and hundreds of years closer. Tucked away on the plains of eastern Nebraska, you'll find Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary. The sounds coming from inside the church here bring the past right into the present.
To some extent, this music is from the early Christians, we believe, would have been singing something that resembles what we have now and what we call Gregorian chant. Some believe that even in the Jewish synagogue that they would have this same style of singing.
Father Zachary Akers is a graduate of the seminary and now a priest in the Fraternity of St. Peter. As a child, his mother would play Gregorian chants to help him calm down. Now, every day, he sings these chants that have been a part of the Catholic Church for centuries.
And there's something that we as Christians in our relationship, our spiritual life, our relationship with God, that we are expressing that it transcends just mere words. And so we pray not just with our mouth, but with singing, with our heart being uplifted to God.
The chanting and the Latin lessons are part of the daily routine for the 90-some seminarians who will live and study here for 7 years. Father Joseph Lee was the last student to be accepted into his class when he arrived in 2000. Now, he's the academic dean. Father Lee says the musical training and classes here are demanding.
These are obligatory. These are not electives. They have to do it. Whether they went to music school before, acquired a major in the subjects, or whether they're tone deaf and cannot match pitch.
As part of the early, more contemplative phase of their study, the seminarians don't use their names publicly. This young man from Washington State had an extensive musical background before coming to the seminary, starting with playing the violin at age 3 and the piano shortly after. Still, learning Gregorian chant wasn't without its difficulties.
One of the things that did take a while to learn was how to pray the music. That was a big difference from most settings in the secular music world. It's a performance. You're performing music, whereas here we're singing sacred music, Gregorian chant. We're not necessarily performing the music, we are praying the music.
Those prayers are now being heard by people well beyond the walls of the church. A record company, De Montfort Music, approached the Fraternity of St. Peter about making a recording of Gregorian chants. So they gathered 12 of the most musically talented graduates from the seminary, priests from across the world, and produced Requiem.
It's a Latin word that means rest. And for this album, it's a selection of music that is simply the Catholic Church's musical list for a funeral mass. We all experience death, and we all experience our return to our Maker, our Creator. And this is something that's very transcendent, and I think the music really expresses this reality as well.
Father Akers and Father Lee are both among those participating in the Requiem project. The recording seemed to strike a chord when it was released last spring, spending 13 straight weeks at the top of the classical music charts. The Gregorian chant has found a new audience.
It's universal. It's a unifying, bonding element that transcends fads, transcends fashions, transcends geography, transcends time, and it's able to unite people regardless of their race or who they think is going to win the World Series or what kind of food they enjoy eating.
Maybe it's not such a surprise that a recording of priests praying Gregorian chants has become a success. After all, they've been practicing for hundreds of years.
Gregorian chant is not something that is just of olden days, that's being sung at some small monastery in Spain. This is something that is very much a part of our life as Catholics.
This time the egg came first. M.M. Johnson's company made incubators in Clay Center. He named them after his dog, Trusty. A successful business, but Johnson thought he could do more if there was just a better way to get the word out about the company.
Mr. Johnson was a very forethinker, and so he decided to build a radio station as a form of advertising.
KMMJ, MMJ for M.M. Johnson, hatched in 1925. It quickly became a big deal for the small town.
We have letters and different documents of where the signal from the radio station was heard all over the country.
People came from all over the country to visit that radio station.
It brought people to the town, not only to live, but many visitors came to visit the KMMJ studio.
Their building was so large that it was kind of like a strip mall that we call today. They had a barber shop and a cafe and different stores in it besides just the radio station.
The things that sticks out in my mind was that they had quite a large grocery store in the radio station and sold all kinds of stuff.
They did live performances, and you could come in and sit down and watch, whoever was performing.
There was quite a bit of entertainment here all the time.
The live performances, the people that were here, and those who went on to become famous stars other places. And, that's special.
There was a lot going on here.
And then there wasn't. In 1939, KMMJ moved from Clay Center to Grand Island. Today, the Clay County Historical Society sits where the radio station used to. But inside, the spirit of KMMJ lives on.
Watch more Nebraska Stories on our website, Facebook, and YouTube. Nebraska Stories is funded in part by the Margaret and Martha Thomas Foundation.